What I'm going to do briefly is to tell you something about the College of Idaho. I hope there's a few things in there that even the alumni among you and people who know the college equally well with me might not know about. And then I want to take on a couple of what I call myths about private non-profit education or independent education. And I'll illustrate a little bit from the college, and then I hope that I'll have some time for some questions at the end of that. We were founded in 1891, and there's a running battle between the University of Idaho and the College of Idaho as to which is the older institution in the state. Now, please understand, I spent 18 years at the College of Idaho. I'm very proud of that. They made me, I couldn't have gone out too badly because they made me an honorary alumnus when I left, so I still get the alumni magazine. Now, University of Idaho claims 1890 because that was a charter date for the territory in Oregon, and we are 1891. But we really think we're the oldest at Caldwell because we had students first. We think it's important to have students that day to the college. So we taught the first classes. So I think we're the oldest in the state, but that goes on. The founder of the college, William Judson Boone, remarkable man. William Judson Boone was president for 46 years. That's one of the reasons after almost 125 years, I'm only the 12th president because he served 46 years. He was a man of many parts, a Presbyterian minister, a field biologist, and a photographer of some note. And we could go on and on and on about his many accomplishments. I still run into people whose great-grandparents were married by Reverend Boone. But he established an academic excellence at the college that has persisted to this day, a real strong focus upon faculty-student interaction. We have 1,000 students, 80 faculty, and a very close rapport among those. And the one thing that I'm determined to do is to keep that part of the classroom going. Some of the measures of the quality are that we have had, and I'm proud to say this, the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Higher Education names an Idaho Professor of the Year. They name a Professor of the Year in every state. This is a national award in Washington, D.C. every year. Each state competes. We've had 3 of the last 5 Idaho Professors of the Year. Most recently, Dr. Michelle Johnson of our Environmental Studies and English faculty. Now, there's 7 institutions of higher education in the state, public and private. If you were just doling those out, we should have had 3 every 21 years, if everybody was getting their portion. If you dole it out according to representatives of the faculty, because we've only got 80 amongst all of the faculty here, I calculated that we should have 3 every 45 years, is all. And finally, if you take the students, there's about 60,000 students in the state of Idaho going to college. We've got 1,000 of them. We should get 3 in every 180 years, okay? But we've had 3 in 5 years, and that's because we do teaching first and foremost. And that's what our faculty are all about, and that's what they're drawn to, the students are drawn to. We've had, in our history since 1960, and this is something I know something about, we've had 6 Rhodes Scholars, 3 Marshall Scholars, 10 Truman Scholars in the national sweepstakes for national awards. That is, on a per capita basis, as good as just about any college or university in the nation, because we were about 500 students for much of our time. And for instance, for the Rhodes Scholarship, in that time since 1960, all other institutions in Idaho have had 5. We've had 6. So there's just a level of seriousness and engagement of the students. We're not the most selective school around. We like to say we don't select winners, we make winners. When I came, I challenged the faculty to come up with a distinctive curriculum that was worthy of the efforts that they put in individually in the classroom. And to my delight, I really don't know what I would have done if they had sat on their hands. I don't think I could have done anything. But they responded very positively to that. And within 2 months of my being named president, they had on my table a brand new curriculum in undergraduate education called the PEAK program. Now, PEAK is an acronym for Professional, Ethical, Articulate, and Knowledgeable. And I don't think you can think of better goals for aims for higher education. Professional, ethical, articulate, and knowledgeable. And what we are doing starting this year is challenging every student who comes to the College of Idaho to get 3 minors and 1 major distributed across those 4 peaks. The professional peak of professional foundations, for instance, every student will have a minor in accounting or finance or exercise physiology, something useful, whatever it is. So if you're a history major, you still have to have a professional qualification of some sort. But if you're a business major, you have to have the other peaks as well. The other peaks, the ethical peak, I like to think of as arts and humanities, a minor, say, in religion or English literature. The social science peak, the articulate peak, language is the basis for community, maybe a minor in psychology or political economy. And finally, everyone has to have at least a minor in science and mathematics, the knowledge peak, because that's the highest and most reliable form of knowledge we know about. I don't know of a Madison Avenue marketing firm that could have come up with a better image for the state of Idaho than peaks, and to say challenge students to climb each of 4 peaks. We like this curriculum. We like it because it's rigorous. I absolutely believe that you get nowhere by going to the lowest common denominator. You get somewhere by challenging young people. And then in their pride, they say, yeah, it's a lot of work, but they're secretly very proud of it. And we found that. The SAT scores, average SAT scores in our freshman class between last year and this year is the first year we had peak, went up 70 points. I've never seen it called. I've been in higher education for 35 years. That's 6% increase in the average SAT score. We're now at 1150 average SAT score. And the only thing I can think is that we laid down this challenge and we've got students to want to come to do it. Now I'd like to turn to a little bit about independent education in general, that is private nonprofit education, and give you a sense for some of the myths that are out there that actually are kind of hurtful to the College of Idaho and other sister independent institutions. And I hope that after you hear me, you will look into it a little bit further and correct some of these misimpressions, because they really, really are out there for that. But just to kind of start where we are, there are 20% of the students in the United States enroll in independent institutions, that is private colleges and universities. So 80% in the public sector. But 50% of the research scientists and physicians in the country are graduates of independent institutions. So we're 20% of the national population, 50% of the sciences, PhDs in science come from independent institutions. And that's because students learn how to think and think rigorously at independent institutions. Our own medical school placement rate at the College of Idaho is close to 90% of students who apply to medical school. Ask your physician sometime, you'll be surprised. We're way overrepresented by our proportion of physicians in the Treasure Valley. Ask them where they went to undergraduate school. One of the myths, though, about this is that it's unaffordable, that the ordinary person can't afford the tuition, $20,300 a year this year at the College of Idaho. And I want to take that one right on. When we do our FAFSA, that is our financial aid forms, people who apply for financial aid, according to federal regulations, have to divulge their average family income and their resources. We track Idaho right on. The parents of our students are no more and no less wealthy than the average in Idaho at all. We have 27% of our students at the College of Idaho are like me, first generation college students. No parent in the family has gone to college. That's an astonishing percentage, but when you think about it, it's the kind of place first generation college students should go, because we've got a 12-to-1 student faculty ratio. They don't get lost, they get nurtured, they get taken care of. 97% of our students are on some kind of financial aid. One of the things you may hear is that private institutions in particular are driving students into unsustainable levels of debt because they borrow from the federal government and private borrowers. Many of you who have students, family members in college know about those programs. Well, this is according to U.S. News and World Report. The average debt at Idaho's public colleges and universities of graduates who graduate from Idaho State or University of Idaho or Boise State is $22,800, okay? At the end of 4 years, that's what they're going to have to pay off. At the College of Idaho, it's only $23,400, so that's $500 difference is all. Amortized over a lifetime, that's not very much. And when you figure that the graduation rates, and again, these are U.S. News and World Report's figures for the 4-year graduation rate. At the College of Idaho, our 4-year graduation rate is 55%. Now, that's not down because we have students who transfer to other institutions because it wasn't a good fit. It's not because they don't necessarily get a degree somewhere else. The 4-year graduation rate at University of Idaho is 25%. At ISU, it's 7%, and at BSU, it's 6%. So those students, when they are graduating, again, these are U.S. News and World Report figures. We have to report these to the government. When you add in that those graduates are going to have to take 5 and 6 years, it becomes even more of a bargain to go there. So don't let anyone tell you that it's not a bargain to go to a private nonprofit college, particularly the College of Idaho. And our students get a level of financial aid, about $9,000 student average financial aid. So thanks to our donors and benefactors over the years, we're able to offer scholarships to them. Another thing that you might hear sometimes is, well, because of the governance structure of a private nonprofit college, actually we are our own corporation. The trustees are self-appointing and self-sustaining. We're incorporated under the laws of the state of Idaho, but other than that, our own governance is our own business. So often you hear, well, private institutions aren't accountable to the public. And people have in mind that public institutions have a public board appointed by the governor, usually in most states as it is here, and that you get public minutes of that. We don't make our trustee minutes public and that sort of thing, so that there's more oversight, more control. Well, in that sense, the public record is more full about what's going on at public institutions. I agree with you. But on a day-to-day basis, now I spent 18 years in public higher education. I'm in my 17th year in private higher education. So I've seen both worlds, and I'm proud of both worlds. We need both. We need a strong system of both to keep each other going, keep each other honest. But I can tell you that at the College of Idaho, we are more responsive to our constituency, that is the families of our students and our families, than I ever found to be the case at a public institution. And that's simply because the faculty and the administration fully understands that we are dependent upon those students for tuition. There's no taxpayer subsidy in there that sort of mitigates in between that. And that has a big factor. So we are responsible for that. In addition to that, our trustees are your neighbors. And Ken Howell here is a former trustee and governor of the institution. John McGee. On and on and on. And those people are in the community. They hear things. If somebody's dissatisfied about what goes on, believe me, our trustees hear about it and I hear about it, right? And we're responsive to that. Our alumni, Lisa DeDapper, are out in the community working and out there. They're your friends and neighbors too. We have, because we're small, and because of our governance structure, we're nimble and relatively unbureaucratic. We don't have a state bureaucracy on top of an institutional bureaucracy. So that if people of goodwill and like-mindedness want to make a difference and do something entrepreneurial and adventuresome, believe me, it happens really fast at a private institution, and the responsiveness can be great. We also provide a $12 million a year payroll to the Treasure Valley, to Caldwell, and many of our faculty and employees live in Meridian, in Boise, to do that. And so your businesses are drawing upon that. Most of those dollars are spent here in that. And finally, given that there's a $9,000 per student subsidy for the state institutions, and by the way, I'm not arguing against that, it should be higher. We should be supporting public higher education a lot more than we do in the state. Don't get me wrong that I'm against that public subsidy for public students. Okay? We need a strong public system to make us better, and we need to have a strong private system so that they're better. Okay? And I'm in despair about what's happening to public higher education right now, just because of that orientation on it. But that $9,000 per student subsidy, over our 1,000 students, that means we're saving the taxpayers of the state $9 million a year. So we're a bargain. So those are the two main myths of private nonprofit education that I wanted to take on, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.